Hello everyone, I'm Mr.Graveveil, a horror storyteller. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos like this. Now, let's begin. I didn't move here for the view, or the space, or even the rent, though it was cheap enough to raise suspicions. I came because no one knew me, because the walls were thick and the neighbors kept to themselves. That's what I wanted. No questions, no explanations, just silence. The apartment is on the 4th floor of an old building on Claymore Street. The kind of place where the elevator groans and hallway lights flicker for no reason. I told people I liked the charm. The truth is I needed to disappear for a while. Most days, I work from home, graphic design, mostly freelance. I keep odd hours. I sleep late, eat when I remember, and only go out when the fridge is empty or my body aches from sitting too long. It's not glamorous, but it's mine. The first time I saw him was 2 days after I moved in. I had just finished a client draft and walked into the kitchen to make coffee. Across the alley, in the window directly facing mine, he stood there, not doing anything, not moving, just watching. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. Maybe he was just zoning out. But he didn't blink, not once. And when I stepped away, I felt it. That chill, the unmistakable pull of someone's eyes on you. He wasn't there every time I looked, only when I was alone. It took me a week to notice the pattern. Every time I had someone over, a friend for dinner, my sister dropping off boxes, his window was empty, curtains drawn, lights off. But the moment they left, just minutes later, there he was again, standing, staring, always from the same spot, always in silence. It wasn't just unnerving, it felt deliberate. I started testing it, inviting people at random times, walking outside just to turn around and come back. Each time the same result. His presence returned like clockwork, only when I was alone. I told myself I was being paranoid. I even joked about it once during a video call with an old coworker. I think my neighbors got a weird schedule, I laughed. But even through the screen, I could see my eyes didn't match the tone of my voice. Sleep became harder. I kept the blinds closed more often, but I couldn't help peeking. Just a sliver, just to see. And he was always there. One night, I decided to leave the apartment. Just for a walk. Fresh air, distance. But as I walked down the street and turned to glance back, I froze. His window was empty, but his reflection was in mine. Behind me, inside. I didn't go back inside right away. I walked the block twice, heartbeat hammering, trying to convince myself I imagined it. A trick of light, a double reflection. But when I finally returned, everything was still. Nothing was missing, nothing out of place. And yet, something was wrong. That night, I ordered a small security camera online. One with motion detection and night vision. I placed it on the windowsill, angled directly at his window. If I couldn't stop looking, maybe I could at least prove I wasn't losing my mind. For the next few days, I checked the footage obsessively. Every morning with coffee, every night before bed, and every time, nothing. Just stillness. His window never lit up, never moved, not once. And yet I still saw him, only with my own eyes. One morning, taped to my door, was a note. No name, no handwriting I recognized. Just a typed line on plain paper. He only appears when you're alone. Maybe because that's the only time you notice. I didn't know what was worse, the message or the implication that someone else was watching me. The fear became routine. I stopped looking for him and started expecting him. I kept lights on in every room, even in daylight. I placed small objects in specific spots to see if they moved. Sometimes they did. One afternoon, I noticed my coffee mug had been turned, handle facing the opposite way. I hadn't touched it since the night before. Later that week, my toothbrush was damp at 3 p.m., even though I always brushed in the morning. It wasn't just being watched anymore. It was being known, intimately, studied, One night I glanced out my window and saw him again. Not just standing. This time, he was holding something. A mug. Same navy blue ceramic, chipped at the rim. Identical to mine. I stared, frozen, pulse thudding behind my teeth. He raised it slowly, as if in a toast, and smiled. I locked myself in the bathroom and cried until I was empty. The next morning, I packed a bag. No plan, no notice. Just enough clothes, my laptop, chargers. I had to leave, even if just for a night. But when I stepped into the hallway, another note was waiting. You forgot to lock the window. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch with every light on, bag at my feet, phone in hand. But the longer I sat, the more certain I became. If I stayed, something worse would happen. At dawn, I called a rideshare and left everything else behind. I checked into a motel on the edge of town under a different name. No windows facing the street. No forwarding address. I told myself I was safe. For 3 days, I didn't hear anything. Didn't see him. Didn't even dream. I started to breathe again. Then on the 4th night, the motel lost power. I was standing by the window, watching the darkness outside, when I saw movement. Not across the street. Not in the hallway, inside. His reflection stood in the TV screen, faint, but unmistakable. Behind me. I turned, flashlight trembling in my hand. The room was empty, but the scent of my shampoo hung in the air. I left that same night. Different state, different phone. I changed everything. Now months later, I live in a new place. I keep the curtains shut. I sleep with the lights on. And sometimes, when I catch my own reflection in the mirror, I hesitate. Because the fear isn't that he'll come back. It's that maybe he never left. The move wasn't supposed to feel like a defeat. I told myself it was a fresh start. A quiet neighborhood, decent rent, no shared custody drama leaking through the walls. Just me, my books, and the sound of nothing. The building was older, 3 floors, only 6 units total. The kind of place where neighbors nod in passing, but don't ask questions. That suited me fine. I was unpacking boxes the day I met her. She showed up with a dish towel over her shoulder and a plate of warm brownies like some sitcom welcome. Her name was Ellie, apartment 3B, same floor as mine, right across the hall. She was friendly, really friendly. The kind that maintains eye contact a second too long. Laughs a little too hard at things that aren't funny. Still, I appreciated the gesture. Kindness felt foreign after the past year. Over the next week, she kept showing up. Dropping by with leftovers. Offering to help hang pictures. I'm just across the hall if you ever need anything, she'd say with a smile that never quite reached her eyes. At first, I chalked it up to boredom. Maybe she was just lonely. But there was something else. A familiarity in her tone. Like we'd already had conversations I didn't remember. She once mentioned the brand of coffee I used before I ever told her. Another time, she commented on a shirt I hadn't worn outside yet. I started keeping the chain lock on, even during the day. But I didn't say anything. She hadn't done anything wrong. Not really, and I didn't want to be rude. She started knocking at odd hours. It wasn't just the casual drop-ins anymore. One night around 10 p.m., she knocked, holding 2 glasses of wine. I thought maybe you could use some company, she said, already stepping inside before I answered. I let her stay for a few minutes out of politeness. She talked fast, smiled a lot, asked questions that felt pointed, like, do you sleep with your window open? Or, have you ever had someone break into a place you lived? I laughed them off. Maybe she was just quirky. Another night, I was in the shower when I heard knocking again. Louder this time. She called my name through the door. I didn't answer. When I stepped out, there was a folded napkin on the floor with, "You okay?" written in pink ink. That was when I started locking the bathroom too. The next time she knocked, It was 1:12 a.m. I didn't open. She knocked again, then a pause. Then she whispered, "I know you're awake." I stayed frozen in bed, every muscle clenched. The day after, she waited for me in the hallway as I came home from groceries. "I was thinking," she said, "we should go out sometime, you and me." I tried to keep my tone neutral. "I appreciate it, Ellie, but I'm not in the right place for anything like that." She smiled, not disappointed, not surprised, just still. "Of course," she said. "I understand." Then she turned, walked into 3B, and shut the door gently behind her. But that smile stayed with me the rest of the night. After that night, Ellie didn't knock again. She didn't need to. I began noticing her in places she hadn't been before. Standing by the mailbox when I came home late. Sitting on the front steps when I left early for work. Once, I opened the trash chute and found a folded piece of paper inside. "Do you still think about me?" Her door stayed shut, but I knew she was listening. I could hear faint movements, footsteps stopping just outside mine, breathing. One night, I heard her humming through the wall. A slow, childish tune, like a lullaby twisted just slightly out of key. Objects in my apartment began to shift. Subtle things. The toothpaste cap off. A chair angled differently. My socks rearranged. I told myself I was being paranoid, but I started taking photos before leaving, proof for myself. And they always came back. Different. I installed a second deadbolt, then a door jamb. Still, there were mornings when my hallway light was on, even though I never touched it. I stopped sleeping well. My phone started buzzing with unknown numbers, all silent when I answered. Then came the messages. Little notes slipped under my door, handwritten in red marker. "You look tired today. I like that shirt on you. Maybe you'll say yes next time." One afternoon, I came home to find a candle burning on my kitchen counter. I never lit it. I never even bought one. The air inside the apartment felt heavy, like someone else had just been breathing it. I didn't see Ellie, but I felt her everywhere. I started asking around the building. Just small talk at first, about repairs, the weather, harmless things. Then I'd slip Ellie into the conversation. "She seems attentive, huh? Or, does she ever come by your place?" Every answer was the same. Smiles, shrugs, nothing bad to say. "Oh, Ellie, she's a sweetheart. She helped my mom carry groceries for months. She watched my cat when I was in the hospital." Always the same words, kind, helpful, gentle. But I never saw anyone enter her apartment. No one ever visited 3B. I never even heard her door open. One older neighbor, Mrs. Granger, said something that stuck with me. She was such a help when my husband got sick. Always checking in, almost like a daughter. Her husband had died in the apartment 2 years ago. She spoke as if Ellie had been there ever since. That night, I combed through my phone, looking for anything. Texts, photos, audio notes, and I found one. A voice recording, short, less than a minute, no timestamp. It started with my own voice. "You're not supposed to be in here." A pause. Then another voice, soft, familiar. "You should have said yes." The next sound was a door creaking open. I didn't remember recording it. I didn't remember saying it. I didn't remember letting her in. That night I barely slept. I sat in the living room with the lights on, the phone unlocked in my lap, and the deadbolt double-checked. I even propped a chair against the doorknob, like I was back in college. It felt ridiculous. It also felt necessary. At 3:17 a.m., I heard the click. Not loud, soft, mechanical. The sound of the second lock disengaging. The chair shifted. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Just stared at the door, waiting for the handle to turn. It didn't. After several minutes, I grabbed my phone and locked myself in the bathroom. Called the police with shaking hands. They arrived 15 minutes later, cleared the apartment. Said there was no sign of forced entry. Nothing was taken. Nothing appeared out of place. I asked them to check 3B. One officer gave me a puzzled look. "That unit's vacant," he said. "Been empty for months." "No active lease on file," I insisted. They knocked. No answer. When they entered, the apartment was dark, dusty, no furniture, no lights, just cobwebs and stale air. I moved out 2 days later. New city, new building. I told no one where I went. But some nights, there's a tap on the window. Just once. Just a knock. And once, last week, I found something sitting on the welcome mat. A brownie, perfectly wrapped in plastic, still warm. A note underneath, written in pink ink. "You still have time to change your mind." I didn't move here for comfort or style. I moved for quiet. The top floor unit was old and a little worn out, yellowing paint. Hardwood floors that creaked like bones shifting in the night. But it was the only place I found with no one above. No stomping, no TVs vibrating through the ceiling. Just 3 floors, concrete between them, and quiet. For someone who hadn't slept properly in over a year, that meant everything. At first, it was exactly what I needed. I unpacked slowly, ate frozen dinners on the floor, and started to feel calm. The nights were still. Just the occasional hum of the fridge, the wind against the windows, the distant sound of city life I could almost pretend wasn't there. I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, and for once, nothing else stared back. But that peace lasted 7 days. On the 8th, someone moved into the apartment below me. I didn't see them. Just heard the muffled scraping of furniture on wood. It was late, nearly 1 a.m. when the noises started. Heavy objects being dragged, then footsteps. Back and forth. Over and over. It wasn't loud, just intentional. The rhythm of someone arranging things carefully, deliberately. Too methodical to be random. The following night, it happened again. Same time, same pacing. I sat up in bed trying to map it out. The footsteps always stopped in the same 3 places. Under the kitchen, beneath the hallway, and then directly below my bed. That's when I heard it for the first time. Breathing, not my own. Slow, steady inhaling and exhaling, coming from below. I pressed my ear to the floor. It got louder. Whoever was down there wasn't moving anymore. They were just lying there, listening. I told myself it had to be coincidence. Thin floors, weird acoustics. Maybe they fell asleep watching TV or something. But when I passed the unit the next morning on my way out, it was silent. No sound, no movement. The door looked untouched. Dust along the threshold. That day, I asked the property manager who moved in downstairs. He frowned. "No one's moved into 2C, he said. "Still vacant, why?" I almost laughed, almost, but I just nodded and said, "Must have been the plumbing." The next night, the breathing returned. This time, there were words. A whisper, barely audible. At first, I couldn't make it out. I turned off the fan, sat completely still, then it came again. "You don't sleep much, do you?" I froze, didn't respond, didn't breathe. Eventually, it went quiet again. But the silence didn't help, because now I was afraid of the silence too. The whispers kept coming, every night. Not long monologues, just phrases, repeats of things I'd said earlier in the day. Once, it repeated a voicemail I left my sister, word for word, same tone. Another time, it asked me, "Why don't you come down?" I stopped sleeping, completely. Tried recording the sounds, set up my phone near the floor overnight, but the files were always blank. Just the low hum of silence, like nothing had ever happened. Desperate, I started asking neighbors casually, "You know if someone's in 2C?" Most shrugged. One said, "That place? Been empty since February." When I pressed, he added, "Last guy died in there. Heart attack or something." So I knocked, middle of the day, just one knock. Then 2, no answer. But that night, I found a note under my door. It was written in blocky red ink on torn lined paper. "Knock again, and I'll answer." That same night, the sounds changed. Now it wasn't just pacing or whispers. It was mimicking. The breathing matched mine exactly, step for step. In the bathroom, I'd hear the faucet creak on below, seconds after I used mine. In the kitchen, the exact same microwave beeped at the same time. It felt like being shadowed. In my own home, I started walking barefoot just so the echo would stop. It didn't. One night, I woke up with a nosebleed. No nightmare, no warning. Just a pressure in my head and the overwhelming sense that someone had just stood up beneath me. I left the apartment for a few days, stayed with a friend. Told her I was dealing with a pest issue. She laughed and said, "You always did hate noise." When I came back, my apartment smelled different. Like stale air and warm dust. Like someone had been there. Not cooking, not smoking, just breathing. I checked every drawer, every cabinet, under the bed, behind the couch. Nothing out of place, until I looked up. A crack had formed in the ceiling. Very faint, right above my bed. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even lie down. At 2:48 a.m., the voice returned. Louder now. No longer a whisper. Almost ready. That was it. The next morning, I confronted management. Demanded to see the apartment. "There's someone in 2C, I said. And if no one's paying rent, someone's squatting." They didn't argue. 2 staff came with me. When the door opened, the air inside was still and cold. There was nothing. Bare walls. No furniture, no lights, nothing, except for one thing, a mattress. Laid out in the exact same position as mine upstairs. Same size. Same direction. No sheets. Just worn fabric caved in the middle. And on the floor around it, faint grooves. Long, narrow drag marks. On the ceiling above the mattress, a crack. Just like the one in my room, no one said anything. The manager just muttered something about renovations and locked the door behind us. I moved out that week. Packed in the middle of the night. Left the city without telling anyone. Found a small unit in a newer building, far away. Clean, modern, fresh paint and bright lights. Top floor again. For a few days, things felt normal. I started sleeping again. No sounds, no cracks in the ceiling. No notes under the door. Until last night. At exactly 3:17 a.m., something shifted. The air got dense. The mattress creaked, but not from me. There was a sound below. A drag, a soft thump. I sat up, heart in my throat. Put my ear to the floor. Breathing, slower than mine. Not mimicking this time, just waiting. Today, I asked the building office about the unit below. They smiled politely and said, "Oh, that one's still empty." This evening, I found a small piece of paper jammed into the corner where the floor meets the wall. Folded neatly, no ink, just indents. Letters scratched deep into the surface. "You brought it with you." If you've ever gone through something similar, or know someone who has, leave a comment below. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the stories and where you're watching from. It really helps. New ones are always on the way. Every week. The next story could be yours.